Hey Bookworms!
I'm Book Mouse.
And I'm Book Kitty, and this is our BookNook.
BookNook.
Today we're going to be taking a walk through American history with Seth Grahame-Smith's Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter. Now, some of you may have seen the movie, may have read the book, don't really know, but this week we did both. That's right, we read the book. Well, we read the book, and then just before filming, we just finished watching the movie, and super excited to talk about this. This week we read Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter and watched the movie, and I enjoyed it. I can't say I enjoyed it as much as the first time because you can never get your first time back, but I really enjoyed both. Again.
I had never read the book nor seen the movie. I actually did not finish the book. We have time frames for where we read our books, and with life in general, I got a good part of the way through the book but did not finish the book. But we did watch the movie right before we started filming, and I rather enjoyed the movie. And what I read of the book, there were a few things about it, but for the most part, I enjoyed the book. I just lost track of time.
Is it something you think you might want to read in the future?
I think, yes. I think I was going to borrow it from you again.
Cool.
and keep reading it. But
I finished it. I got to catch up on some books from the library hall anyway.
Yeah. Overall, I did enjoy it. I did. I did see your point about how the book and the movie, not the same.
Not the same thing.
But we talked about that with other books we've read that have been made into movies.
Yes.
You cannot go in with the expectation that it's going to be exactly what you expect.
I think the big difference here is this is historical paranormal fiction. This isn't just paranormal fiction. And I think that when you're trying to stay with the historical storyline, trying to stick with the book and the movie, they had to make certain changes that were a little bit more obvious
Okay.
than normal book to movie transitions rather. But I think because it's based in history, they had more accuracy in some ways from one to the other, because you can't change the gist of a story when the gist of the story behind the gist of the story is history.
Especially if you're not writing an alternative history.
I mean, that's basically what it is. Well, no, you're right. It's not really alternative history. It's just filling in gaps in history.
Okay, yeah. What could have been.
What could have been. I mean, a lot of Abe's personal life is kind of shrouded in mystery, especially his childhood. He didn't like to talk about it. He didn't like to relive it. He wanted to move on, and just continue on with his life. So I think that leaves authors and filmmakers a lot of room to play with and add certain things in.
Little free license there.
Just a tad.
Creative license.
For me, I think the book was really well written, was well paced. It picked up the pace in all the right moments. It kind of slowed things down for the tragic moments, and his pace was really good. It does have a mixed media layout, so you get most of the story from Abraham Lincoln's, from a writer who takes Abraham Lincoln's journals and creates a story with them, tells the story for the people. What I found most interesting about the book is it starts by breaking the fourth wall. It starts with the author, Seth Grahame-Smith, being approached by a character in the book and telling him, here's the journals, write this story. You're the person to do it. So he just automatically starts off with breaking the fourth wall. And there are very few things that do that well. Deadpool is obviously the best as of right now.
Yeah.
But that just immediately caught me. But from then on out, he doesn't break the fourth wall again. But he does add in things like paragraphs of thoughts from other characters, or news articles, or pictures, or other actual journal entry pieces. He's got poems that were written and songs that were sung. It's a mixed media layout.
There are actual pictures in the book.
Mm-hmm. In an adult fiction book, yeah.
In an adult fiction, but the pictures are...
Oh, I love this one. That's Edgar Allan Poe and Abraham Lincoln.
But it helps...
I love Poe.
It helps flesh out your visual image of what you're reading.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and I think the pictures being added in with the historical context, along with the fourth wall breaking in the beginning, lends the author the room to make it more believable. For this to be the real story of Abraham Lincoln. No, obviously it's fiction, but it makes it more believable the way he puts it together.
And it draws you in more.
Absolutely.
It catches
Total
your
immersion.
attention. Exactly. You've got the news articles, you've got the thoughts of everybody, you've got the pictures, you've got so much to stimulate your imagination and stimulate your thought processes that I think the book hooks and holds. I know we have talked about the movie and the book thing.
Mm-hmm.
Was there anything in particular in the book or the movie that you didn't like? Or that kind of was off-putting?
Actually, there's one critique. I'm not even going to say negative comment. There's one critique I may have for this book. And forgive me while I refer to my notes, but I wrote it eloquently while I was really tired last night, and I don't want to have to try and do it on camera again. But I found blaming slavery on vampires, blaming the institution or how bad it got on vampires is a little diminutive of the pain that the people went through and the families. And I also think that it leaves room for the South and the U.S. to absolve themselves of responsibility and blame. It's kind of saying, oh, here's this evil force, men couldn't help it, they were manipulated. It wasn't our fault. With it being a sensitive subject, I just felt it was important to note that could be a problem for some people. The interesting thing to note, though, is I did a little bit of Googling and research and literally put in Google historical accuracy of Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter. And oh my god, I got a lot of responses. Unfortunately, all of them were related to the movie. Historians talking about how accurate the movie is. And as we will shortly discuss, the movie doesn't follow the book exactly. There are a lot of big changes, but from what I could tell, most of the historical points, historical locations, events, people were actually pretty historically accurate in the book. Aside from the vampires being added in and things like that, the historical events that are portrayed in the book are pretty accurate, which tells me that the author did his homework. The author, Seth Grahame-Smith, definitely did a lot of research. He is, we're talking about things that were so deep that only a history buff would probably know. The normal history student or the normal high school student definitely wouldn't know half of the stuff in this book, and the normal history student might know a little bit more than that, but some of these gaps and everything, it just lines up so nicely that you can tell he, in his world building phase, did all of his research. Yeah.
Well, that's cool. We did notice that there was a big difference between the book and the movie. And we've talked about in the past how it's really hard to get every nuance of a book into a movie unless we use the other forms of
media, which
is
my big sticking point. You have a big thing to tell, you want to get it as accurate as possible. You have other options now. It doesn't have to be limited to an hour-and-a-half feature film. You can do miniseries. Stephen King does it all the time. And his shows and whatever are more accurate to his books than most anything else. You have exclusive shows on Netflix and Amazon and Hulu and Disney and all of that. You have, different television series you can do. You could do what's now called a limited series. It's not a mini-series. It's not a series, it's a limited series. It's basically how Japan films just generally. They have a finite ending, whereas Americans like to capitalize, so we like to drag it on as long as possible.
Leave it open for another season.
Let's see if we want a sequel. No. Now, funny thing is, this book does have a sequel, which I found out while doing my research. It follows one of the characters, not Abraham Lincoln, but it follows Henry, his vampire friend, and through the 19th and the 20th century. And I think that book It's just to appease fans. I did have a lot of questions after Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter 1, but not enough that I'm going to seek out this second book. Okay. I think that it is perfectly fine on its own in its individual format, and I don't think it needed a series behind it. I don't think, I wanted to know what Henry goes through, but a lot of books tell history changing and times going on through a vampire's eyes all the time. So
yeah, it's kind of been done.
It's been done, and it's cool, but I think I'm going to leave it alone.
And something we both noticed, there are characters in the movie who are pivotal characters in the movie
that are not in the book.
Not even at all. And so, but we kind of understood that with the way cinematography is and the way American audiences are, we want a good guy and a bad guy, and we want a clear battle. We want clearly defined lines of stress and conflict so there could be a resolution.
And the book, it's really an ideal and a large group of people that are the antagonists in the book. So I think the movie added those characters in to personify that threat, that antagonism. So while I didn't like it because it wasn't accurate to my book, because I love my books, it did serve its purpose.
It did. And the movie, I thought, had a good pace.
Very good pace.
Very good pace. It would build you up with action and then slow you down so you can catch your breath. And I like that you're going to see a lot of cameos, and you're going to be like, oh crap, I know that guy. I know that face. And then you're going to be, oh my god, that's
so-and-so, and I didn't know who he was before I saw this movie. I saw this movie, didn't know who he was, and later became a fan of this actor and was like, oh shit,
he was in this movie, and I didn't even click that he was in this movie. So there are a lot of cameos, and I think they weren't gratuitous. You know how sometimes a movie you'll throw in a cameo and you're like, oh my god, really? I don't think this movie did that.
Mm-mm.
And I think that some of the action scenes were well done, smooth. You know, sometimes they're choppy, or you're like, well, you know, I see the little tint in the back of your jacket from the wire.
Or the action's so dark you can't see what's going on.
Right, because they're trying to hide that they're doing... That doesn't happen in this. You get clear vision, you get good action. Oh, the horse scene.
Oh my gosh, the horses.
So you're like, that can't happen. Well, maybe not, but you know what? It was damn fun to watch. And
it was really fun to watch. And there was an entire pivotal scene toward the end of the movie that is just strictly not in the book at all either. True. I think that they had to add that in as like the climax and all of that, just the rise of movie. It's the movie format and the book format kind of ride differently.
Yeah.
And I think they had to change those things. Honestly, I think that I'm just going to come out and say it. The Battle of Gettysburg isn't really touched on in the book. It's not. I think the reason the author did this might have been because the Battle of Gettysburg has been talked about, rehashed, and just, everybody knows the Battle of Gettysburg.
Yeah.
However, it was a pivotal moment in Abraham Lincoln's career and in his life that they had to touch on it a little bit. So they touched on like the repercussions of it and things like that, but the movie focused on the Battle of Gettysburg, and I think the reason the Hollywood directors and things did that is because a lot of people know of the Battle of Gettysburg.
It would be a familiarity so they can understand the importance of this one particular battle.
Tactic. And the tactic that he uses, yeah.
So that was important to note, that don't read the book and then watch the movie, go into it thinking the movie is just going to be a visualization of the book page for page.
And it doesn't begin the same way.
It doesn't begin.
It doesn't end the same way.
And there's a whole section of the book that's not even represented in the movie. A whole section.
There's pivotal characters in Abraham Lincoln's life that aren't in the movie either. So I would say, based on my limited information and the little bit of research I did, the book is a lot more historically accurate than the movie is.
True.
But both of them have elements that are pretty darn accurate.
Yes. All in all, though, I did enjoy both. I did. I judge a movie by how many times I go pee. Okay? It's the
I've
truth.
seen it. It's true.
I'll be in a theater, and if it's a really good movie, I will be in pain limping for the restroom because I will not get up. And then there's movies where I'm like, I'm going to the snack stand. Give me your money. I'll be back in half an hour. But this one, until she reminded me that it was DVD and we could pause, I was holding it because I was like, I need to know.
It does keep you on the edge of your seat.
It has a good pace. It like I said, it brings you up with the action and then lets you calm down. Brings you up with the action and lets you calm down. I liked it. I liked both.
Brings you down with the tragedy, brings you back up.
And someone had pointed out that sometimes when you go into a fighting style, it just doesn't come across on the TV. It's just too fake.
Choreographed. You can tell it's choreographed.
It's choreographed. And of course this is choreographed. But you have to remember, it's still an everyday item. I mean, come on. It's Abraham Lincoln. It's an axe. But
the things he does with that axe.
Somebody knows physics. Somebody knows combat. And the way he handles this axe is believable. It's beautiful.
Beautiful.
Absolutely beautiful. And I think
it's an art.
That's what made it also enjoyable. I used to watch movies and anatomically correct violence, I guess you would call it. No, that's not what it looks like. When you do this with the brain, it does, I would get frustrated.
I do that too.
I would get frustrated because I'm like, oh my God, CGI, fake.
That's
goo.
so obviously fake. Come on, guys.
Yeah, and I didn't really feel like that.
No.
Now, the horse scene is CGI.
You can tell it's CGI.
But they did a good job.
And they cleverly hide it. They make it noticeable that it's CGI just enough so you know that horses are not being harmed in the making of this film. But it does take place in the Midwest. There is a lot of dust kicked up by a herd of horses. And I think that dust in the filming, that little detail, just kind of masks the CGI. So even though you get glimpses of the fact that it's fake, you still get glimpses of, okay, I can live in this. I can immerse myself in this and believe it's real.
Would you say that the dust also kind of added to the urgency of the fight?
Oh, absolutely.
It added an atmosphere to what was going on.
Yeah, so, if the dust hadn't been there, it would have been flat landscape, just horses and the characters.
Right.
And, I mean, the action would still be there, the filming technique, but I think the dust definitely did add to it.
When you have an attitude or an atmosphere that you're subconsciously noticing, it adds to your enjoyment of the scene. All in all,
absolutely. Four paws up. Absolutely. Both on the book and on the movie.
Yes.
For different reasons. Thanks for joining us.
Next week, each of us is going to be picking our 2019 top 5 for the year.
Don't forget to check the description below, where we will list where you can find Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter for purchase, as well as where you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Goodreads, and Patreon.
Speaking of Patreon, check us out at patreon.com/OurBookNook.
We have 3 tiers of patronage starting at just $3.
Join us for all kinds of fun shit, like early access to our weekly videos,
exclusive behind the scenes and shoutouts,
as well as bloopers and more.
Become a patron and gain access to our exclusive all-new live chat community.
Well, that's all for today. As always, I'm Book Mouse.
And I'm Book Kitty. And we are now
signing off.
If you missed us last week, go ahead and click up here for I Am Legend by Richard Matheson.
And click down there to check out our library book haul that we did the week of Thanksgiving.
And as always, don't forget to subscribe below and ring that bell so you know every time we post a video.